Hey guys, Matt from Pangea here with Tom from Geckological. We are excited to talk about some projects that we have been kind of working on together involving Betty White and Tom's cold fusion line, among some other lines that he's really been putting some effort into. I'm going to hand it over to Tom to talk a little bit about what he's been working on, and we'll go from there.
So this all started about 5 years ago when I had an animal come out, and as it grew up, it went from brown to a sky blue base. Now, we're looking at it as sort of a hypo enhancer trait. It does a lot of different things with different base colors, and we brought it, raised plenty of them over the last few years, and I've been breeding them into the Betty White line. So the Betty White line has been adding pattern, snowflake into these animals, and it's overcoming some fairly stacked genetics, so it's quite a strong addition to the lineup. Now,
how long have you been working on the cold fusion line itself?
About 5 years now.
About 5 years,
yeah.
Yep, that sounds about right. And then you put Betty White into that line about 2 or 3 years ago?
2 years ago.
2 years ago.
Yep.
Tom was one of the first people that I released one to, so I knew he could do some cool stuff with it, and he has. And we'll show you some evidence of that too.
Yep. So. Yeah, the oranges, what I'm looking at as a hypo base, are great because I put it into my line. I've been making these oranges that look very hypo, and I'm getting this variation where we're looking at a homozygous and heterozygous versions of it. So the homozygous is being very strong, being very dominant with everything I breed it to. That crossing into the Betty White line, the Betty White line has started to break the barriers and bring the white up over the lower laterals on these animals now. It's not a major amount right now, but I can tell you what's hatching this year from double stacking the Betty White line is an extreme difference.
So we saw some results on that first crossing into the Betty White, and then you've stacked that again genetically to kind of even enhance it more, essentially.
Yeah,
Okay.
So I've outcrossed it in different directions, so I can use animals from each of those outcrosses to keep heterozygosity up and bring them back together to still have a strong animal and start stacking and presenting the traits even more.
Yeah. So Tom brought some of his animals to Pangea, which we're going to offer up for sale on the Pangea website. So check that out. That will be going up. When's that going up? Soon. That's going up soon. And I've been hoarding, the Betty White offspring, as a lot of people know. And we may release some Betty Whites as well. So keep an eye out for that. But Tom, tell us about some of the animals you brought and what's special about them and what people should be looking at.
Sure. I brought a variety. I figure if we can get it out there to a bunch of different people, see what they do with everybody else's projects and phenotypes, that would be the best bet to move this forward. We have the traditional, the ones that glow up blue. They have been outcrossed to darker lines, so sometimes you get a little bit of a variance of firing, but one of them happens to be one of the SAF animals, which is extremely soft, has a matte tone to it, probably one of the premier animals. Lots of oranges. I even brought one that was bred to a super soft scale, so it's actually Betty White, cold fusion, and super soft scale. So I'm starting to stack traits that have been stacked themselves.
And the super soft, to me, it just kind of like makes a clean, like very intense kind of look to it.
Yeah, it gives
crisp.
it a glow. Like the colors come through even more.
Yep.
It's just the way the light refracts through the shape of the scales. They're much more vibrant, especially when you get into the super soft scales. And there's quite a big difference in the yellow, which is one of the ones that are going to be coming up.
Definitely. Yeah, so some of these animals are absolutely amazing. You guys are going to be blown away.
Yeah, I also took your OG black line.
Yes.
So I bred that into cold fusions. Now, when they are bred together, you will get the variance from the incomplete dominance of black to the bluish tone. But when you get phantom involved, they go black. They go jet black And when you get some pattern on them, especially the orange pattern that's typical of Harlequins, it coats it and brings up the intensity, and it's almost like a red-orange tone showing through. And these animals are great for black projects. Some of them are coming out jet black. I call it the knockout, but it's actually Cold Fusion and the OG black Pangea line. And second generation, some of them are coming out jet black right now.
Are they firing up black, or are they kind of always black?
They're firing up black. There's still some of that wild type melanin, and like we're only in the second generation with this, but what's helping is the Cold Fusion being in it sort of reduces that yellowing.
Okay.
Now you can't fix the brown-based melanin, but we can remove whatever other yellow is in the animal to help sort of balance it out and get that deeper, richer black.
Okay, we're progressively getting rid of yellow.
Yeah,
essentially.
And what's kind of cool, even in the first generation, is you're getting, if you look at the bottom of the toe pads, you can see a blue cast on these black animals. You can see the traits in the toe pads and sometimes on the bellies even.
All right, Tom, you brought some really cool red animals. Tell me a little bit about those.
Yep, the basis of it is the red moonshine that I bred years ago, 7 generations. Always thought they were hypo, which is maybe how some of this got into these animals. The red that I brought in particular is a phantom, but the Cold Fusion line has such a strong pinstripe and solid back that the phantom is being overcome, and we're getting more white dashes across the top of the back.
Okay.
And the other cool thing is with the Cold Fusion being involved in this animal, this one looks like it may grow up to have that dark cherry color.
Yep.
I don't know if it's a blue influence from the Cold Fusion line, but we have that in play with the extra melanin that sort of enhances some things sometimes.
Yeah.
And red obviously showing through it so well because it's stacked so heavily.
Yep.
So this animal has a ton of potential, and that look, that white spot on the red, and it's kind of getting that purpley tone.
Yep.
It's a hugely popular look right now.
Definitely. So it sounds like we've got a lot of this figured out, you know, where a lot of the influences are coming from, but there's still some things that can be explored.
Sure.
And so we did the video on the foundation genetics, and I think a lot of this is going to kind of play into that. And getting these animals out there to the people and getting their feedback as well is going to be kind of huge too, just to see how this plays with everybody else's, you know, projects. So is that kind of the goal in getting these animals out there now, is to kind of get other people involved? And
I mean, aside from needing space, because I've been breeding them and I have a lot of them.
Yep.
I want them out there. I want them out in the community to see what happens, because I'm finding interesting phenotypes. You know, I've done it for a few generations, so I'm getting really interesting things. I'm getting this soft scalation, and some of them they just keep getting softer in some generations. There's not a ton of them in the next generation, but there's a few that are, they're just different. They're really unique animals.
Yep.
And I'm getting some that hatched out with a brown back, and now that back is staying beige as they grow older, so it doesn't match the lower lats.
Yeah, interesting.
So it's almost like this extra tone on a gecko, and after you're used to looking at geckos and all the different, you know, types and looks, it's different. It's different. And then I have the one line, I specifically pulled out a couple animals that had a similar look, and I've been producing babies from them fairly consistently that have a black base, really dark with the Cold Fusion in it. The pattern on them is the white, which is fairly typical. And then where the orange pattern is, now it looks like it's just brown melanin. So it's very monochromatic, that one color with a range from white to black. Okay.
And so brown melanin versus black melanin.
Yeah.
The brown melanin just has some yellow influences still in it. And that's...
Yeah, and I think we see that a lot on the dorsal of a lot of animals. It still carries to this day. It's extremely strong. That and tiger tend to be the strongest.
All right. How about the Harvest Moon Glow?
So Harvest Moonglow is a homozygous yellow animal, pure white back, pure white lower laterals,
yeah,
or white walled, however we want to define it. That animal bred to black animals predominantly produces orange animals or yellow animals, depending on if they're homozygous, being yellow, and heterozygous, grabbing some of the melanin and some possibly red on some occasions. They're getting that more orange, deeper look.
Okay.
And it works awesome against, especially with the heterozygous, when you get that crisp orange next to the pure white pattern that's fairly typical on a lot of the cold fusion animals.
Absolutely.
So there's a crisp break. And Harvest Moonglow, she fires interesting. Her name is sort of an indication of what happens. When she fires down, she'll go from the bright yellow orange down to almost like the gray of the moon where it glows. It's really neat, and it's actually carrying in a couple of the animals that are going up.
Excellent.
So pay attention to that one.
For sure. All right, Tom, you brought an Axanthic mixed with what?
Betty White and Cold Fusion.
Okay.
It's actually a poshet from 100% AE line Axanthic. Right now it's kind of small, and it has that brown look that I see with a lot of the Cold Fusion line animals, so I don't know which way it's going to go yet.
Right.
But we're talking about 3 different things,
man, possibly,
because it's a poshet, right?
Yeah.
Got to be upfront with that.
What do you expect? I mean, what's your hopes for it?
I hope somebody grows it up and uses it, and hopefully with another Axanthic to a different Cold Fusion. And then when we can get that mix where we have the genes stacked, it's going to be quite interesting to see how that comes into play, especially with the heavy back stripe, the solid white on the Cold Fusion, the heavy white from the Betty White.
Definitely.
So if we can get this to start stacking on top of each other, I'd like to see some more pattern in Betty White. Yeah. Or not Betty White, sorry, but the Axanthics.
Axanthics, yeah. So kind of the sky's the limit with that one. Something to play with. Yeah,
definitely a project animal, and it's going to take a few years to do it. But
right. Yep, but somebody that wants to put the time and effort in is going to have a lot of genetics to play with.
Sure. Yeah.
Absolutely. Good. Yep. What else did you bring for us?
I brought a Betty White Cold Fusion dark base animal.
Nice.
Yep, it comes from one of Betty White's sons.
Okay.
So, real nice animal. It breaks in the midpoint, so we've got a little bit of orange on top, a lot of white. Colors are quite vibrant on this one, and the black base is really dense, so we got that sort of a combination rather than the fading.
Yep.
But when it fires down, you can see it a little bit. The incomplete dominance is going more towards the black.
Excellent. Excellent. And then let's talk a little bit about scalation.
Okay. Yeah.
On some of these animals, what do you have going on there?
So it's something I refer to as SAF, soft as expletive. Been through this before.
Yes.
But it's just what I saw and what I said when I saw it. It's just what it is, how it looks. So
soft as fur.
Sure, whatever you want to call it.
Or whatever you want to say.
But it ends up giving them this matte finish. It's a really soft look. It's an immediate identification when you see it.
Yep.
Couple of the
which
animals.
Animal is that in, or animals that you brought?
It's in the line of the Cold Fusion.
It's in the
so
Cold
I
Fusion
get it
line.
popping up all over in it.
Okay.
So it's not something I intentionally developed.
Yep.
But
just kind of
I'm definitely kind of enjoying it now that it's stacking up and really
Very
showing.
Cool. Good.
It's a real, the scales are like equally sized, equally spaced, so you get this real nice smooth finish. Mm-hmm. Sometimes they almost look like they're shedding. It's that smooth coat.
Okay.
And it's kind of interesting when you get into some of the black base animals.
Definitely.
The blues really show it off, but it's just like a little something extra that's coming along with this.
Great. And for the people that are interested in working with Betty White, since you've done a lot with Betty White, what can you tell us about how Betty White's genetics kind of play into everything?
So what I've seen so far from a couple seasons, there's a look. When those animals start to grow up, when they're mid-firing, there's a sort of a haze to that white.
Okay.
It's just something I noticed. It doesn't come on extremely strong in the first generation, but now that I've stacked it and I've got some babies coming out, I'm seeing a lot more of it. It went from, you know, like 10%, 20% to probably 80% coverage on some animals. Mm-hmm. So I still have to grow those out, but they're definitely, like, they're making a big impact on this season's animals.
Awesome.
So
awesome.
Yeah.
And we'll try to show some examples of that here down the road as well. Just what's going on with Betty White and Tom's projects with Betty White and Pangea's Betty White projects. So that'll be exciting, and we'll bring that to you as soon as possible. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Tom, thanks for coming out and bringing these awesome animals. You got some really cool projects going on. Really appreciate it. Where can people find these?
Well, thanks for having me. These are going to be available on Pangea's website right now, or shortly. Yep. And after that, if you want to take a look, you can look at Geckological on Instagram. There are plenty of pictures up there, like 4,000 or so to go through.
Tom takes a lot of pictures.
Contact me through Instagram if you have any questions about any of these animals. And then we'll probably see you at Schaumburg too.
We'll see you at Schaumburg. Thanks for watching. Make sure you guys like and all that stuff. What do we got to do?
Oh yeah, wait a minute.
You got to like and
watch the Foundation Genetics video on the Pangea YouTube channel. Definitely got to check it out. And there's documentation at the bottom of that description on YouTube. Take a look at that. That's all the supporting documentation. Thanks again.